Okay, welcome to the live stream. Assalamu alaikum. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. I know it's slightly a different setting. I'm in my car right now. However, I wanted to spend a couple of minutes, maybe 15-20 minutes or so, discussing a very interesting topic with you guys today, which is to do with New Year's resolutions. Now, it's January the 1st, right? So, New Year 2019. And like with every single year, people make New Year's resolutions in the beginning of the year. Now, what I want to discuss today is a couple of things. Number one, what I want to look at is what are resolutions? Number two, why do we make resolutions? Number three, when it comes to resolutions and making resolutions and setting goals, in other words, a resolution is a goal that we set for ourselves. When we make resolutions and set goals for ourselves in our lives, we do them for a reason, but does even setting goals make sense under, for example, atheism or naturalism, right? So I want to discuss these things because it's very interesting that a lot of people these days don't believe in God. They don't believe in a creator. They believe that this life is just an accident. We're here, we're going to die. There is no purpose, there is no meaning. And nevertheless, we set goals for ourselves in our lives. And that's a very interesting contrast that I want to discuss today. And finally, the last thing I want to touch upon is that if we do, set goals and resolutions, what is the primary and most important goal that we should set for ourselves in our lives, right? So this is what I want to talk about today. So essentially what I want to do is I want to take this idea of New Year's resolutions, and I want to sort of try to understand them from the perspective of the purpose of our lives and how they're connected to what it means to be a human being, right? So without further ado, anyone that's watching this right now, please do share this on your pages. Maybe, if you're a Muslim, please share this on your feeds with your non-Muslim friends, whether they're Christian, atheist, whoever they are. Share this as an opportunity for us to give dawah. If you're a non-Muslim that's tuning in or watching, I really encourage you guys to stay till the end, and I'm sure you'll find this beneficial. So, loads of ideas I want to discuss today. I want to try to keep it short. If you've got any questions, if you have any suggestions, if there's anything you guys want to ask or discuss, you got the comment section below. So leave your comments below, leave your questions below, and I'll try to address them as they pop up on my screen. I should be able to see them live. If not, I'll try to address them post live stream. That being said, so New Year's resolutions. What are New Year's resolutions? Every year, a year goes by and a new year comes, and we start setting ourselves goals, right? We start setting ourselves resolutions. According to some of the statistics, on average, each American at least sets about 1.8 resolutions for themselves, right? I know you may be thinking, how do you split a resolution into an eighth? But not literally, but just on average, we set around 2 resolutions per individual in America. And I'm sure it's very similar across the world. People do it in the UK, people do it in Asia, people do it in Africa. It's almost become a universal thing that human beings do. A new year comes, for us it's like a fresh start. It's like, the beginning of the year, day one. You have another 365 and a half days to go, and you want to restart your life almost in a way which is going to be better than the way you lived previously. And hence we set ourselves goals, resolutions. Everyone's resolutions are different. Some people, they have resolutions that they want to lose weight. Some people's resolutions are they want to be a better person. Other people that they want to, for example, start a business. Other people have resolutions where they want to do something for someone else, right? And the list goes on. So what I first want to touch upon is that what drives us to set goals and resolutions as human beings. And there's probably many aspects to this, but something very, very interesting is that I believe setting resolutions and goals for yourselves is linked to being human, right? And it's a natural drive that human beings have, because as human beings, we want to achieve things. We want to be successful. We want to set goals and achieve and reach those goals. We want to keep moving. We want to keep improving, right? We have standards. We want to do things and achieve things in life. That is something very natural to a human being. So what we end up doing is we are constantly trying to self-improve. We're constantly trying to be better than we were previously, right? We have goals and aspirations in life. For example, some of us have lifetime goals. Some of us want to be doctors. Some of us want to be philanthropists. Some of us want to, run a successful charity, or run a homeless institution, or set up a orphanage. We have loads of goals and aspirations in life. Something to understand and appreciate: as human beings, when we set goals, it makes sense that we do that, but we need to ask ourselves that, does it even make sense? Do goals and goals and resolutions even make sense without God? Right? So now every human being, when it comes to the question of God, when it comes to the question of belief in God, in a creator, the purpose of life, we have different perspectives. You'll have atheists, you will have agnostics who are in the middle, they're not too sure. You will have believers, you will have Muslims, you'll have Christians, you'll have Jews. If you're an individual who maybe been brought up in a secular environment, you're an atheist, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in a creator, then what that means is that you believe in a world which has no meaning, it has no purpose intrinsically. It's just random, it's accidental, there is nothing else behind it. We're here and we're going to die, right? And our existence is just happened by chance. Through these lengthy processes over millions and millions of years, things came together, bits and pieces of raw matter came together and formed into everything we see in the world around us today, including ourselves, right? In other words, in simple words, if you follow the atheistic worldview, or if you follow naturalism or a type of materialism, then what you have to believe is that human beings are simply an accident. They are an accident, and I know this sounds crude. This may sound very uncomfortable. It may sound very morbid, right? But this is the reality if we follow through with these ideologies, right? And I'm not trying to pick on anyone specifically. I'm just talking about these worldviews. Now, if you follow it through, then this is what it means. Atheism and naturalism, if you deny God, you deny there's a creator, you basically deny all types of purpose and meaning in life, right? And I want you to really think about this, because if there is no God, like I said before, everything is an accident. We're here by chance. We're living today and we're going to die tomorrow, right? We've just emerged. There is no reason for us to be here, right? We are just this accident which has been thrown out into this world, and we're going to die and we're going to leave, right? It's just like spilt milk. It wasn't supposed to happen, it just accidentally happened. You and me, according to these worldviews, we are an accident. Now, if we are an accident, brothers and sisters and friends, then that means that there is no purpose, there is no meaning, there is no value, right? And ultimately, there is no true happiness, right? Think about this. Let me go through these things and really try to get us to understand them. Now, when I say there is no purpose, what do I mean? Well, simply, if you are an accident, then where is the purpose? It's just an accident, right? You may say, I have a goal in life, for example. You may set a resolution. 2019, my resolution, I set myself a life goal, for example. I want to be a surgeon, right? Hypothetically speaking. Now, this is a goal that you've given yourself. Now, you may claim it to be your life goal. You may claim it to be the purpose of your life. But what you've done is you've given yourself this purpose. This is not your ultimate purpose, right? You weren't born into this world knowing this purpose. This is a purpose you gave yourself. Just like someone else may say, I want to be a mechanic. Or someone else may say, I want to be a businessman. These are goals. These are types of purpose that we give ourselves. These are not our ultimate purpose, right? We just make them up for ourselves. Now, if this is the case, brothers and sisters and friends, then we don't have any ultimate purpose. We've just made up something. We've actually lied to ourselves, right? We've just made something up, plucked it out thin air, and we said, this is my purpose. Now, this is fine. We can do this. I'm not saying you can't do this, right? But there is no meaning to this. It means nothing. It's just something you've told yourself. What should then drive you to fulfill it? There is nothing there to drive you, because remember, on the worldview of atheism or naturalism, if you're an atheist or a naturalist or anything similar to this, or if you're an individual that doesn't believe in any creator or any God, and you don't call yourself anything, then there is no meaning behind anything. Everything is an accident. Everything is a result of blind, dead, cold, physical processes. And if this is the case, then nothing means anything. You may tell yourself you have purpose. You may tell yourself that I want to be so-and-so or become such and such a thing. But this is something you've just made up. And if it's something you've made up, then there shouldn't be any drive. There should be nothing driving you, right? And therefore, we shouldn't be setting goals. We shouldn't be setting New Year's resolutions or any type of resolution for that matter. We should just simply be living, eating, surviving, and dying. That's it, right? Or reproducing. If we were just an accident. I know it's a very dark way of looking at the world, but this is what these worldviews point towards, or lead towards, or end up in a conclusion as. Because if you adopt atheism or naturalism, then this is what happens when you follow through with these worldviews. You end up with a worldview which means that you are an accident, you have no meaning, you have no purpose, and you're going to die. Therefore, you shouldn't even be setting goals. Therefore, it means nothing to set goals. And if you are, you're just making things up and you're distracting yourself and you're lying to yourself, right? Let's look at it from the perspective of meaning. We touched upon meaning. What does anything mean? Let alone goals and resolutions. What does life even mean? Right? Where is the meaning in life? What does it mean to be a human being? What is the difference between a human being and, say, for example, we saw loads of fireworks last night, right? 2019, loads of fireworks went off all over the world. Say, what's the difference between a firework and a human being? I know it's a strange comparison, but just to really get us thinking. Someone may say, well, a human being is living, he's breathing, he's complex, a human being is sentient, he's conscious. But what do these things mean? At the end of the day, on naturalism or atheism, the human being is just a rearrangement of matter. The human being is just a rearrangement of molecules, of particles, of bits, just like a firework. A firework, whatever type of firework it is, it's a rearrangement of matter. You are just a different rearrangement of matter. Your matter, that's matter, right? You compare yourself to anything. Compare yourself to a table, a chair, a car, a tree, a leaf. You are just different things, different rearrangements of matter. There is nothing more to you than anything else. And if that's the case, then there is no added or special meaning to human life itself. It's all meaningless. It's all without purpose, right? And it gets worse when you think about it and you follow through. For example, let's take, the idea of, let's touch upon, ultimate happiness, true happiness. Where is the happiness? Happiness is something we all strive for. Again, go back to the idea of resolutions, goals. We set goals and resolutions because we inevitably want to achieve something when we set these goals and resolutions. And we want to achieve these things because we think that they will make us happy. When we do set goals and we achieve them, what happens? When we feel successful, we feel a sense of happiness, right? But this is temporary. Where is ultimate happiness in life? If there is no God, there is no creator, and everything is an accident. If you are an accident, I am an accident, everything around us is an accident. What does even happiness mean? Where is the ultimate happiness? Especially when human beings ask specific questions about meaning and purpose. Who am I? Where have I come from? Where am I going? What's it all about? These are questions all of us ask, right? And if we don't have answers to these questions, then how could we truly be happy? Can we truly be happy? We may be distracted. We may temporarily distract ourselves and entertain ourselves, but will we truly be happy? And something is interesting. What happens is so many people set goals, right? We get excited about them, maybe a few weeks, a few months, and then we fall off, right? And then we repeat these cycles over and over again. It's almost like we're constantly trying to distract ourselves and constantly trying to stay away or push those bigger questions out of the picture and put them to the back of our mind so we don't think about them, we don't reflect about them, we don't consider them because they are bothering. When you really sit down, and you could try this. I encourage people to do this, especially if you're someone that's really thinking about life and what life is all about. Why am I here? Sit down with these questions one day and really sit down and think about, who am I? What am I? Where have I come from? Where am I going? Why do I have the ability to think? Why do I have the ability to ask these questions? If there was no answers, how have I ended up with a mind that can think and that can ask these questions if my mind and everything about me has come from just physical random arrangements of matter, right? Very interesting questions. And when we ask these questions, it gets us to think. And most people don't like asking these questions or thinking about these questions because they're quite depressing. They cause a lot of anxiety within the person, especially existential form of anxiety, where you really question your existence, and it's a really scary place to be, because as soon as you start to do this, you really spend time thinking about these things, you can't focus on anything else. Nothing else means anything anymore, because you realize those things are trivial. The goals that you've given yourselves, the purpose that you've set for yourself in your life, the ambitions that you have, all of these things become secondary. because you realize that the most fundamental thing to first establish and understand is, who am I? You know, but most people, what they do is they take these questions, they put them to the side, and they end up focusing on these trivial things and ideas that we give ourselves throughout life, right? Now, I'm not saying don't set resolutions and don't have goals and don't have things like you want to lose weight, you want to, you know, be a successful businessman, or a businesswoman, or you want to, for example, start up an orphanage. No, these are brilliant goals to have. It's always good to keep moving, keep developing, keep doing things in our lives to make us better and make us grow. But what I'm trying to get us to focus on, or what I'm trying to say is, yes, it's all good and well to think about life goals and think about, resolutions and things, tasks and goals we set ourselves to achieve, or targets we set ourselves. But it's more important to ask the more fundamental questions about life and get answers to those questions. About who am I? Where am I going? Who made me? Who put me here? Is there a God? If there is, how do I get to know him? How do I connect with him? Am I going to return to him? And the list goes on. These are the most important questions that we need to answer. And these are the questions, number one, society doesn't want us to think about, right? And number two, we ourselves distract ourselves from, because, like I said before, they're very difficult questions. And most people don't want to spend time thinking about these things because it can be very, intense. It could be very, very draining as well. But I commend the people that sit down and do this, and I will commend anyone that's watching this right now, especially if you're Muslim. Please share this with your non-Muslim friends. But if there's any non-Muslims watching this right now, I really commend those people who sit down and ask these questions and try to find the answers, because it's a challenging thing to do. And anyone that's done it knows how difficult it is, but it's very rewarding, because as human beings, I believe, for example, in Islam, we're told that God created us, and he created us with a purpose, with a goal, and the ultimate goal of human life, or the human being, is to find his creator and submit to him and worship him, right? Is to submit to God and worship God, know God and worship God, right? This is the most integral, fundamental thing a human being needs to do first. And as soon as you find God and you understand who you are, it puts things into perspective. It really puts things into perspective. And you feel like now you're on stable ground. You feel like you're somewhere where now you can make the most of life. Whereas if you don't know the answers to these questions about who you are and why you are, then everything else, you just feel unstable throughout life. Anxiety, frustrations, you're always wondering, you're always guessing. You don't know why things happen. You don't know what's gonna happen. The future gives you anxiety. The past depresses you, because you don't know. You don't still have answers to those core questions that human beings ask. And in Islam, God, in a very beautiful way, and I will give you this, because at the very least, I can share our perspective, and I can share what we believe is the truth. And I'm sure, I pray God guides all of us to this truth, is that in Islam, God gives us the answers very clearly in the Quran and in many places. For example, the very first chapter of the Quran, even the first 3 verses of the very first chapter of the Quran, really, tells or reminds the human being of who he is and who his creator is, and what the relationship between the two are, or between us and our creator. And it really defines us as human beings and gives us that definition. For example, God says in the very first verse, he says, all perfect thanks and praise belongs to God, the creator of everything that exists. Such a powerful verse when you think about it, because there's a few things we could take from this. Many lessons, but 2 lessons that something to get us really thinking is, number one, God reminds us that he exists. There is a God who is the creator of everything that exists, right? Now, obviously, God tells us about himself in other parts of the Quran. Allah, for example, in the Arabic, the word itself means the deity, the only deity worthy of worship and praise, right? God tells us he's uniquely one. There is nothing like him, He has no children, he wasn't born. He's unlike anything you can imagine. He's a creator, he's eternal, right? So first, God reminds us that he is there. And as soon as the human being realizes that he has a creator, straight away, this is already in line with human nature as well, right? The soul, the deep down inside, we recognize this. And then God also tells us in the very first verse that all thanks belongs to him. All perfect thanks and praise belongs to him, right? Now, God reminds us here that gratitude belongs to Him. So if we have to thank God, we're thanking God for something. And this should allow us to understand that everything that we have is by the one who created everything. He is the one that gives us everything. And therefore, we should give thanks to Him, because this awakens the person or human being to understand that everything they have in their life, everything they have is a blessing from God. It's a gift from God. It's not something we earn or own. Right? God is the one that's in control. And if He's given us everything, then we should be grateful to Him. And then in the next verse, God tells us a bit more about Himself. He says He is the excessively, intensely merciful, and He is the one whose mercy, continues. And His mercy, it's a loving, intense type of mercy. It's the most perfect form of mercy. He's the most merciful. You cannot compare the mercy of God to anyone. He's more merciful and loving than a mother's. A mother loves a child. That love and mercy is nothing compared to the love and mercy of God. So when the human being thinks about this now, as soon as you hear this about your Creator, this draws you towards Him. It makes you feel like you want to connect with Him and come close to Him, right? It gives you that comfort that you're being, and it reminds you, if God is so merciful and so loving, and He's the one that's given you everything that you have, and He's given you your life, and He's given you everything in it you possess, that means He loves you. He wants good for you. He's taking care of you. Just understanding this about our Creator, that we have a Creator and He wants best for us and He loves us and He's the one that's given us everything that we have, brings a sense of ease and tranquility to the human being. Because no longer are you just alone in this vast space, right? In this time that you just popped into existence, and you're not alone anymore. You're not just an accident anymore. That fear and anxiety that you have, that the being unsure of what's going to happen tomorrow, being unsure of life, it's gone. The unsurety, this sense of unsurety is gone. It's left you anymore. You don't have that anymore. Now you have that strength because you have a Creator, and your Creator is the one that created everything, and He is the all-powerful, and He's the one that's that's in charge of everything, and nothing can happen without His leave, and He is the most loving, the most merciful. If you understand these things about God, it brings that stability in your life. It brings that tranquility in your life. It brings that sense of peace in your life. You're in good hands. You don't need to worry anymore, right? And then God reminds us, just before we get too comfortable and thinking, what, God's the most loving and most merciful, therefore I could just do whatever I want and it'll be a comfortable ride. No, God tells us in the next verse, He says that He is the master, the owner of the day of judgment. Meaning, something we should take from this is that you will be judged. You will stand in front of God. So when you live your life now, live it in an upright way, in a just way. Live it consciously. Live it in a way where you're doing good, and you stand in good stead with your Creator. So when you stand in front of Him on the day of judgment, you can stand with that sense of confidence that you tried your best to live the best way you could, that you didn't live in an evil way, you weren't unjust to people, you weren't a tyrant in any way, shape or form. You were a good person. So just these three verses, when you just reflect upon them, and this is why the Quran is very powerful, and unfortunately we live in a time where as soon as you hear the word Islam, or you hear the word Quran, or you hear the word Muslim, it's almost like hearing someone scream fire, right? It scares you, because it's just negative. There's these negative links people have made in regards to Islam and Muslims and all of these ideas. Because what happens is some people, and unfortunately some Muslims have aided in this as well, they've created this negative conception of Islam, right? So as soon as someone thinks about Islam, these negative ideas and thoughts come to mind, and so much so that they can't look past that, and they don't really get to appreciate the beauty of Islam, the beauty of the Quran, and that life-giving message of the Quran, that guidance for humanity, which is for all of us. They can't even get to that point because their minds are so occupied with these negative notions of Islam itself. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that any non-Muslims that may be watching this right now is to give Islam a chance, give the Quran a chance, look past that baggage, look past these negative misconceptions and distortions about Islam that are out there, and really, first and foremost, try to find out about who we are as human beings, who you are as a human being, why you're here, where you're going. God tells us very clearly in the Quran, for example, He created human beings to worship Him. That's the purpose we were created for, to worship our Creator, to know Him and to worship Him. to have that relationship with our Creator, you know, which gives the human being his identity. Otherwise, like I said before, we just float. It's like we're just this piece of debris floating on top of the ocean. We're being pushed around by the waves, and we don't know where we're going or who we are. But when you find God, when you find yourself and find God, you find your relationship between yourself and God. This brings the stability in one's life and that peace and tranquility. It doesn't mean you won't be tested. It doesn't mean difficult times won't come. No, they will come. But now you will have the tools that you need to really, you know, to deal with them and make the most of life itself. You know, and just some things I wanted us to think about, you know, that yes, we set, just to summarize, that we set goals and we set resolutions for ourselves throughout the year, throughout our lives, especially when it comes to New Year's in the beginning of the year, you know, and we have, you know, because we're human beings, we're driven by purpose. We believe we have purpose and meaning. But before we focus on these trivial things, let's really ask ourselves as to who we really are and what our true ultimate purpose is as a human being, you know. And when we can find the answers to those things, which I believe God has given us throughout history, and He's given us one final time in Islam, in the form of Islam, and which is preserved in the Quran itself, you know, if we really find our true meaning and our true purpose, and then everything else will be, you know, we'll all link back to this. You know, we'll be able to make the most of life in every way, shape or form, you know. Something to really think about, something to really consider, you know. And at the end of the day, you know, we're all looking for identity. You know, if we're not finding our true identity, which is a slave of God, you know, a servant of God, which means that you are truly liberated from a worldly perspective, because you're not a slave to anything else anymore, then you will try to find your identity in something or someone else. You know, whether that be in a relationship, you will identify yourself through a relationship. Whether that be goals, whether that be other things in life, whether that be materialism, you know, you will try to identify yourself by something else if you don't find your true identity. So start by finding who you are, and the way you find yourself is by, you know, finding who your Creator is and why you were created. Once you understand this, then everything else will fall into place, you know, and everything else we can make the most of in our lives too. Just some things I wanted to share, brothers and sisters and friends. Please do share this. Get this out to as many non-Muslims as you can. And if you're a non-Muslim that's watched this, I thank you guys for watching. And I really, really recommend that you guys just pick up a good copy of the Quran, a good translation of the Quran, maybe as a resolution, you know, to one of your New Year's resolutions, where you pick up a Quran and you just study and read it, see what it has to say. And the challenge for you is going to be, can you look past that negative media perception that's out there, or the negative ideas that are out there about Islam, these false ideas that are out there about Islam, these distortions that are out there about Islam. Can you overlook those? Can you get yourself to the place where you can put that baggage aside and say, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance, I'm going to pick up the Quran, I'm going to read it, you know, because it is a book that came over 1500 years ago, and it is a book that's impacted the world in such an amazing way. You know, it shaped the world that we live in today. You know, from changing the early recipients of the Quran to these noble characters that we look up to today, to throughout history, for example, in Islamic Spain, where it allowed for the progress in science and mathematics and biology, you know, and the development of all of these sciences. You know, it was the Quran, because all of the foundations of these things are within the Quran itself, something you guys can go and look at and study further, you know. So if you can get past that and think that this book has created a civilization, you know, which has been around for 1500 years almost, and it's one of the greatest religions on the face of this earth. Billions, millions and millions of people follow this religion across the world. That in itself should get us curious and get us thinking that, you know, surely if this religion has done so much and has had such a great impact on the world, surely there must be more to it than what the media is saying and what, you know, CNN, Fox News may be saying, or certain, you know, people may be saying regarding Islam. So have it as a resolution of 2019, where you're gonna look past these negative ideas and perceptions, look past this baggage, look past these narratives, and, you know, say, you know what, I'm gonna give the Quran a chance, I'm gonna read it, you know. And I can guarantee you guys that when you read it, what you'll see is that it's all for you. Everything in the Quran is for you, for your benefit, for the human's benefit. There's nothing in it for the benefit of the Quran, for the benefit of God. God is free of need, as He tells us, right? Everything in there is guidance for us, and it's if we follow it, it would allow for us to make the most of life and to be successful in this world and the next. But that's something you guys need to pick up and do for yourselves, is to read it, study it, and give it a chance. If you guys have any questions, please put it down in the comment section below. I'll visit after this live stream. Click the notification button, because I believe there's other live streams that happen on this page too. And thank you guys for watching. Until next time, may the peace and blessings of God be upon you all.